All right, kids, Unhappy Friday. Coming to you live from our humble abode. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio, part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you for joining us from wherever you may be, whatever device you're using to stream us on YouTube. So please pull up a chair, turn up the volume if I'm not quite freaking loud enough for you. Use the company dime if, God forbid, you're still stuck at work. Crack open a cold one because it is Friday. It is the weekend. And let's put an end to this week's hostage situation. Look forward to having some fun this weekend. Lou Mancini, are you a real American? Referencing your hat in the Hulkster. So I guess we ought to do that first, right? For those of us that are, Generation X or in and around those, even some boomer, maybe some millennial on the other end of it. It's been it's been a hell of a few weeks, right? As far as the your celebrity deaths, unfortunately. We had Malcolm Jamal Warner from the Theo from the Cosby Show, who passed away tragically. And then Ozzy Osbourne, who I know a lot of us, whether you're old enough to have grown up with him when he was, listening to him when he was younger or later stage, whatever the case may be. Ozzy with Black Sabbath and whatnot, just a huge, huge icon in the music world. A whole genre of music created around what he was doing, what they were doing. And then, of course, just the other day, we get the tragic news of Hulk Hogan, the real American, at 71 years old, passes away, cardiac arrest, so heart attack. And look, there's some disgusting things out there where people are, politics in general has created such a mania in this perfect term, right? Hulkamania. It's created such a mania with the masses that you get folks on either side of this divide that some of them are so far removed on either end that they can't see the middle and they can't even just be decent when someone loses their life. I'll give you an example. Another good friend of ours, he's been on this show. He does the Heart of the Order podcast with Chris Sack and I when we're able to get together and do that. Lou Dominguez, he put up a post with pictures showing, stuff that he had, Hulk, places he'd been, Hulk memorabilia and whatnot. And, it's just kind of a, rest in peace, Hulk. There were a couple of folks that commented on there that were, let's just say, and I'm not going to speak ill. I don't know the people personally, so it's not my place. And that wasn't the only place where I had seen these things. Just like, and it's all politically driven, because Hulk backed Trump. And, Hulk spoke at the Republican convention. And, let's be honest here. We'll be transparent. Hulk had a rep, of, some racial comments and leading you to question what his actual private life may have been like, but that's not for us to judge. That's his private life. And nobody's saying you have to like the guy, but to speak ill of the dead, especially that quickly, the day he passes away, it leaves a lot to be desired and just shows you how much better we could really do as a society. There's plenty of folks who I can't stand. And some of it based on their political stance and how crazy they're. Let's just take, for example, someone like Rosie O'Donnell, whose political stance and big fat mouth I think, are disgusting. However, should she pass away, you're not going to see me out there trying to find posts saying R.I.P. Rosie and find me commenting on them, talking about how much I couldn't stand her because of her political stance. It's neither the time nor the place. And all of you people out there who do that, and I don't care what side of the fence it's on or who you like or dislike, there's just no place for it. All right. This is why everyone hates each other. Is because you or Kathy Griffin, very good, another good example, Lou. Um, there's just there's no place or reason for it when those sorts of things happen. You know, I'll give you an example from my personal life, and it troubles me to say this from time to time. To talk about these things from time to time. But when my stepfather passed, um, there was I think it was a few years later. My mother had put up a post on Facebook that spoke unkindly about Tom, and a friend of mine went at her for it, and then he texted me on the side and apologized, and I told him, "Don't, but you don't need to apologize, brother. She's out of line and over the top. You can hate a person all you want. You can think bad about a person all you want, but to wish death upon a person, again, Lou Dominguez. I was texting with him last night about this. Texting with him and Chris about this, and he said he summed it up best. Look, if you want to be happy that Adolf Hitler is not on this planet anymore, or Osama bin Laden, I don't think you'll find a soul alive, at least anyone that we would be in contact with, that would argue with you. These are people who supported some sort of genocide, attacks on our country, attacks on the planet, whatever. They're just, the world is a better place without them. But when it comes to folks like a Hulk Hogan, who, I understand the racial comments, and I'm not telling anyone that they have to forgive that. But you've also got a lot of stories. Well, take Ric Flair, for example. When Rick was hanging on by a thread in the hospital, Hulk Hogan was there by his side the entire time. He's also been known to help friends and folks out monetarily and whatnot. He was also always in his bar in Clearwater, on Clearwater Beach there, and was always, kind to people who came in there, fans and whatnot. I had the pleasure of not really meeting him. There's a place in Bridgeport, Connecticut called Harbor Yard Arena. And many moons ago, a long time ago, I picked up a security gig working there. And at the start of the night, I was just kind of at the gate, checking bags and shit like that. I was young. And then one of the dudes comes over, and it's a WWE show. And one of the dudes comes over. He says, "Hey, have you ever met Hulk Hogan? Have you ever been close to him? Have you ever?" Yeah, I was like, "No." I mean, I've never actually been to a WWE show where he was wrestling. So about 10 minutes later, they come back and he's like, "Come here, follow me." I'm like, "I have to stay my post." They brought another guy over to take that spot. I end up backstage in the tunnel where these guys are going to come out. And they're like, "Just stand here and, Hulk's going to come out in a few minutes." And my heart just starts racing. Look, I grew up mostly as a little kid, I grew up in the 80s. And Hulk Hogan, for those of you who know anything about wrestling, Hulk Hogan was wrestling in the 80s. All right. He was just huge. And Ric Flair, too. Don't get me wrong. But Hogan was that first one that just reached that huge international star power. So, and all of a sudden, you can see a couple of people come out, and then here comes Hulk, right? And he's in all the red and yellow. He's got the big fucking feather boa around his neck and everything. And I'm in awe. Now, look, he's not 6'9" or anything like that, but he was a huge individual. And I don't know if somebody said something to him about me being my first time seeing him in person like that, but he comes walking by and he slows down right by me. And I just look up at him and he sticks his fist out, just this huge mitt like this. And he says, "What's up, brother?" I just, of course, "Have a great show, Hulk." It was so fucking cool. But you could tell that he slowed down in particular to do that. He doesn't have to do shit like that. It seems small to a guy of his stature and of his fame and whatnot, but he got it from that standpoint. And I'm also not saying that people maybe didn't have bad experiences with him. Something that other folks have to understand is that these people are also humans too. They have bad days. Okay, just like you or me. And it's possible that you caught him at a bad day. And maybe that was the unfortunate experience. It was not that way for me. And from what I understand, it wasn't that way for a lot of people. So reading a lot of stuff and a lot of it politically driven, really, really, I was upset about that last night. So I had to get that off my chest. But yeah, rest in peace, Theo. Malcolm Jamal Warner, 76-year-old Ozzy Osbourne, and of course, 71-year-old Hulk Hogan. Got my real American hat on here. Of course, goes with my Wawa Flying to Ohio red shirt. So, just it's been, we've lost some folks here recently. We've lost some folks this year. You go back to George Foreman. It's been, like I said, particularly these last couple of weeks for, Gen X, my generation, or, some boomer and some millennial on either end. It's it's saying goodbye to some folks that were a big part of our youth. Um, yeah. So how the hell are all of you? Lou Mancini, Keenan in the room. Baking potatoes is very easy today. Just sit there outside. Yeah, bro. It is hot as shit out here too, man. So we do the Unhappy Gilmore show, but also to talk about a little bit, right? It's today's Netflix premiere day of Happy Gilmore 2. So we get done with the show here tonight. I'm going to take my 3-mile walk, get that done in about 40, 45 minutes, come home, shower, and it is going to be movie night here. We're going to watch the original Happy Gilmore and then Happy Gilmore 2 tonight as a family. So they probably order pizza, or I might run down to Wawa or something. Thought for a minute about setting up the projector and doing this outside, but to Keenan and Lou's point, as Lou says, he's currently frying an egg on our newly paved street. It's equally hot and very humid out here, so we're not going to be doing outdoor movie night in this weather. It is just way too hot. Chris Sack mentioned he was having a watch party for the Happy Gilmore 2 movie. We're not going to do that. It's a watch party for us. It's just us. So Grady's out right now with a friend of his. He'll be back around 7:30. Liam's chilling out. Brooklyn's chilling out. Michelle will be home in about 15 minutes while we're doing the show. So she doesn't get to hear me read her favorite part of the show. You guys all know what that is, right? We are proudly sponsored by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Cheerleaders brings you the area's most beautiful women on 5 different stages. Open 7 days a week from noon until 2 a.m. and until 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. For group information, call 215-467-1980. They also offer free parking, a full menu, daily drinking food specials, as well as a premium selection of cigars in a cigar lounge. You're looking for a place to watch your favorite sporting event. Can't get over the link for the Birds. Can't get out to the bank for the Phils. Head on over to Cheerleaders and enjoy the 75-foot HD TV wall, as well as HD TV screens throughout the entire club. Guys and girls, once again, that is Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philly. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. Folks, always scrolling at the bottom of the screen whenever my fat ass is, well, not quite as fat anymore, ass is live. You will see greenlegion.com. If you're looking to head out on the road to catch the Birds this year, if you're looking for home tailgate options for the Birds this year, if you're not in the Philadelphia area, you live in Minneapolis, you live in Dallas, you live in D.C., you're up in New York. Where else do we go this year? Green Bay, Los Angeles, where else? Green Bay, Buffalo, Tampa. If you're in any of these places and you're a Birds fan and you are looking for a place, a tailgate, a pep rally, whatnot, please head to greenlegion.com. click on trips and tailgates, find what you find, click the sub menu, find the one you're looking for. If it doesn't say sold out, book it. Don't hesitate. You know what they say about he who hesitates. Book it. You will not be my wife, Michelle, the one who I razz all the time about the Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club. So, guys, girls, again, greenlegion.com. Click on trips and tailgates. Find the one you're looking for. If it doesn't say sold out, book it. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right? All right, what do we got here? Lou Mancini's just going to be pissed you missed it. Lou Mancini, Keenan, we're the boomers. Keenan, we're the tough ones. Yeah, you guys are tough. Generation X, though. I got to give you shit. Keenan, what do you got here? Looking at NOLA for Halloween to celebrate Lou's birthday. Lou, you gonna make it out? You gonna make a trip this year? That new gig and all. I don't know how that'll work, but would love to see you out on the road at some point. Keenan, did you say you were heading to Dallas? I keep forgetting it every week, and I feel bad about that. But I thought you said you were heading to Dallas this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would be really cool to see you guys down there, though. All right, I don't have a full-on agenda for tonight. There's been so much going on that to try to put it all into a run sheet, we'd be here for hours. So the fact that I didn't get to do a show last week because of stupid Wi-Fi issues, which, guys, as you can see, I have been able to correct, at least right now. We're going to go ahead and use this week and next week's show to just kind of get ourselves caught up here. So I think the number one thing, I know one of the things on everybody. So let me just go over the All-Star game real quick. Lou, Chris, and I haven't been able to link up yet for another episode of Heart of the Order. So I'm just going to give you my quick thoughts on the All-Star game. Keenan, what do you got here? Your niece, that's right. Yep. We'll see you in Jerry's World. Very good. That's excellent. Can't wait to see you down there, brother. I think it's been since I saw you. Yeah, it's been a minute. So, the All-Star game. Look, you guys all know me. As far as when it comes to baseball, I can be very much get off my lawn. I don't like a whole lot of, the ghost runner on second base pisses me off in extra innings. I was not an advocate for the pitch clock, but not for the reason you might be thinking. I think we've gone over this where it wasn't so much that they're using it because I knew it would make an impact. It was the fact that it was necessary because these guys were just up there clowning around at the plate, stepping out of the box left and right, pitcher stepping off the mound all over the place. Drives me nuts. So instead of just enforcing the rule that's already there, being get your ass in the box, you get your ass on the mound and let's go, they put in this clock. So the reason for it is what annoyed me, but overall it's actually been a good thing. But I'm very much get off my lawn. I don't like a whole lot of. I'm not big on the modern metrics with the WAR stats and all of that shit. However, I think Major League Baseball got the All-Star game absolutely right. I thought they knocked it out of the park. You start that game with, first of all, the home run derby was cool. That was fun. 40 pitches, swing at it. Hopefully the guy pitching to you gets him in the zone for you. If not, who got buddy? You're screwed. It was also funny, even as a Yankees fan, to see Jazz Chisholm be way out of his weight class, way out of his depth in that competition. That was a joke, and I laughed. But the All-Star game itself, I thought was absolutely fantastic. You start the game with two of the league's premier young pitchers. Paul Skeens on the National League side, pitching for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Tarek Skubal for the Detroit Tigers, pitching for the American League. Now, guys take the field. First and foremost, they're all wearing their team unis. Thank God they went back to that, right? No more of this, let's see what some dork in a Nike basement can dream up And let's turn that into a fucking uniform for the All-Star game. No, get back to wearing your team's unis, your team's colors. I thought it was great. And then you get Skeens versus Scooble on the mound. To Chris's point, he would have preferred Scooble versus Wheels. I get it from a Phillies fan standpoint, but Skeens versus Scooble was an excellent way to start it off. Now Skeens was on his game, Scooble was not. He got lit up like a Christmas tree. But then from there, so Clayton Kershaw takes him out for an inning, right? Or for a couple outs, whatever the hell it was. And he's mic'd up and he's talking to Smoltz. And he's asking Smoltz what he wants Smoltz what Smoltz wants him to throw. I thought that was a really cool moment. And the National League runs out to a 6-0 lead. And, the American League has to, fight, scratch, and claw their way back. A lot of it on the bat and wheels of one of the game's most exciting young players. That's Kansas City Royals shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. Incredibly fun player to watch. Ties the game up. Now, before all that, at that point, your All-Star Game MVP may very well have been that piece of shit first baseman for the Mets, Pete Alonso. But the American League comes back and ties it up. So instead of going to extra innings, which, let's be honest, it's an exhibition, they do a swing off. And it was freaking glorious. Look, I'm a Yankees fan, so obviously I wanted the American League to win. But to watch what was going on there, the American League's got it, and then here comes Schwarber and just unloads 3 straight dingers to basically walk it off and win it for the National League. I thought the entire night was absolutely excellent. They crushed it, and it was needed. All-Star games in general, regardless of the sport, the football Pro Bowl is a joke. The NBA All-Star game is just fodder. The NHL actually has gotten it right, in recent years, where they've had the 3-on-3, and it's been each of the 4 divisions having a 3-on-3 against each other. That's been really cool. But man, Major League Baseball really crushed it on All-Star Night. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I hope we get more of that every single year. Keith, that's right. Saw you before the parade. That's right. Yep. I can't. Sometimes I forget I was there. I was in town for like 30 hours. That was it. I flew in the night before, did the thing that day, and flew out the very next morning early. So I was not in town very long. Lou Mancini, that's funny. Schwarber says no to the home run derby and eventually wins with the yeah. It was cool. Keaton, I jinxed the Phils by actually watching their last game. Sorry, Sackmaster. Oh, you're all right. But yeah, I thought, I don't know if you guys watched. Keaton, I know you're not much for baseball, but Lou, I know you are. I don't know if you watched any of the All-Star game, but I just thought it was great. It was a really cool experience to watch that. Another big thing that I think has been on everyone's mind, or at least has been at the forefront, which is a little annoying, is the comments from Cam Newton about our beloved Jalen Hurts. Look, I understand Cam Newton is just trying to spew for ratings, clicks, and to try to fool himself into thinking he's still somewhat relevant. And let's be perfectly transparent and honest here, Birds fans. If you just took their God-given athletic ability, okay? If you just took that on its own, Cam Newton is better. He's 6'5". He was Josh Allen, is basically what Cam Newton was. Just big, strong, fast. But you can't take just that, because what Cam lacked was really true leadership capability. He's not a winner on the pro level. I don't want to. I get the MVP season. It was 1 year. Yeah, he had a stretch there where he was really good, but look at his overall completion percentage and tell me how great he was as a thrower. Great athlete. Jalen Hurts is not only a natural leader, he's a winner. He is very intelligent and an incredibly hard worker. And I'll give you one play as an example as to how hard Jalen Hurts works. We can find a ton of them, but I'm going to give you one. If you guys remember, we launched this podcast in 2022. And this was going into that, when we blew up that year, right? So at the time, we're doing 2 shows a week. We're doing this one and we're doing Right on Cue. Quimby and I were on the same page. With all the talent that they had gone and acquired and drafted, we're looking at it and like, Jalen, just don't screw it up. And you guys remember that I think I did like almost an entire show about it, that Tua and Jalen were always going to be linked together for their time at Alabama. Jalen gets benched, Tua comes in and wins the game. Ironically, throws the touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. Next year, Tua gets hurt. Jalen comes on, wins the SEC championship. Jalen goes off to Oklahoma, has a Heisman caliber season, doesn't win the award, but has a Heisman caliber season. But if you guys remember back then, what did I tell you that both of them had questions on? For Tua, it was what? It was arm strength and health. For Jalen, it was arm strength and accuracy. Now, accuracy can be honed. It can be practiced. It can get better. And you can see that with Jalen. Absolutely. Arm strength is a little bit different. And this is where I want to give you the play that I'm talking about. The amount of work that this young man has put in, and don't get me wrong, it's not like he has a cannon now, okay? It's not like he went from a guy that had to throw the ball. You guys remember us talking about it, Quimby and I both. He's got to put it 30 yards in the air to get it 30 yards downfield. That was a lot of what Jalen was when he was first, breaking in as our starter. I'm going to tell you about the dagger from the Super Bowl. The throw to Devontae, the dagger. We all know what that play is. It's one of the greatest plays in our team's history. That throw is in the air for like 55 yards, 54 or 55 yards. If you look at where he's standing when he lets go of it and where the ball lands right in the basket. I mean, you can make the argument that maybe it was a little back here, but I mean, you're really splitting hairs at that point. That thing is right on it. It's 55-ish yards. Rookie Jalen Hurts, second year Jalen Hurts, probably even 2022 Jalen Hurts. I'm not sure he's got the depth. I'm not sure he's got the arm strength to make that throw. But he made it in the Super Bowl on the game's biggest stage against one of the biggest dynasties we've seen. So accuracy we know has gotten better. And the arm strength has also gotten a lot better. He throws an excellent deep ball now. This is something he didn't do a whole lot of. So when you look at a Cam Newton versus Jalen Hurts, you got Cam out there. I was better than Jalen. No, the fuck you're not, dude. No, you are not. You are a better from a God-given gifts perspective. And if you had half the work ethic of Jalen Hurts or a shred of the leadership capability of Jalen Hurts, yeah, you probably would have been one of the all-time greats. But you know what? You're not Jalen Hurts for those two reasons, the leadership and the work ethic. Jalen has got you beat every time. And the cherry on top, the absolute cherry on top, is when those freaking lights turn up the brightest in the playoffs in the championship games, in the Super Bowl, regular season when a team takes away our run game and Jalen's got to do it himself. When those lights turn up the brightest, Jalen Hurts is at his absolute best. Book it. Cam Newton, he got his shot at a Super Bowl and got absolutely destroyed. Destroyed. Not even a contest. Not even close. Moped after his huge MVP season. So you can take your MVP, you can take your Heisman, you can take your fucking national championship and all that, and your all your God-given gifts and whatnot. You can stuff them straight up your 6'5", 240-pound super bitch ass. Because I will take Jalen Hurts every day and twice on Sunday, punk. Yeah, dude. Lou Mancini, what did you have up here? His brother accomplished way more. Keenan, I told Cam, face it, punk. QB1 is a winner. You, not so much. Yeah, dude. Cam needed a Howie Roseman on his team. Gotta be the Dr. Smith. Keenan, 40 milligrams of gummies has me reading Adam's mind. Russ Taylor, how we doing, buddy? That guy works in the offseason, and right now it seems like he's not resting. He's not. Look, I'll be honest with you. I love my quarterback, and I love him for multiple reasons, not the least of which is what we just talked about. But, dude, when he didn't, like, the ring, I love what he's doing. I do. And we're never satisfied, all that. I would like to see him enjoy it a little bit. Like, wouldn't you? Like, the guy has earned it, but he's just not satisfied. And if that's what keeps him driven, and if that's what helps keep this team rolling on to more success, then hey, man, don't put a ring on at all. I've got friends of mine that are like, is he a psychopath? I'm like, he might be, but I'm okay with that. I'm good with it. Yeah, Russ, 2 Super Bowls. So, and not just those 2 games. There's a third contest between those 2. Russ, I'm glad you brought that up. We talked about this a month ago or so. Jalen Hurts has played Patrick Mahomes, who is everyone's number 1 quarterback, and I won't argue that, okay? Given the league MVP and the Super Bowl MVPs and the multiple Super Bowl wins, I won't argue it. But Jalen Hurts has played against the Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs, 3 times. Twice in the Super Bowl on a neutral site, and once in Kansas City, and I was there for that one. He has outplayed Patrick Mahomes all 3 times. He's significantly outplayed him in the Super Bowls. Yeah. But now look, don't get me wrong. Having a defense like ours, that helps. But, there was a meme, and I put it in our Eagles group out here, our Midwest Eagles nest. I'm going to pull it up here. Let me see. I'm going to read this to you guys, and you'll like it. I'm sure you'll like it. Here we go. And this is supposed to be a Birds fan talking to what I would call an idiot. Idiot says, Hurts sucks. You don't know ball. Birds fan. He's a Super Bowl champ and reigning Super Bowl MVP. Idiot says, that's because he had all that help. Birds fan says, so a QB who needs a lot of help to win sucks? Idiot says, yes. Birds fan says, so why hasn't your QB won a Super Bowl yet since he's so much better? Idiot says he needs more help. Oops. Gotcha. Every quarterback needs help, people. Okay? All of them. All of them. The only quarterback I've ever seen that didn't need as much help was Tom Brady. All right? Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Joe Montana had Jerry Rice and John Taylor. Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Matt Stafford, for a bunch of his career, had Megatron. Randy Moss made a lot of quarterbacks look really good. Tom Brady didn't need Moss, but when you put Moss with Brady, it was like giving Barry Bonds steroids. And that's why those numbers were so outrageous. Every quarterback needs help. Nobody can do this alone. And I get very, very tired of these people who take the Cam Newton approach. Um, you know, well, Hurts is only good because of all that help. Really? Well, he's only got all those rushing touchdowns because of the tush push. Is he a bit of a touchdown merchant at the goal line? Yeah, he is. But stop the play then. Don't try to ban it or outlaw it like a bunch of candy asses. Stop the play. You can't. Why is that Jalen's problem? These are fantasy football fans who can't stand it because he stole touchdowns from Saquon Barkley. Why don't you go ask Saquon what he feels about that? Saquon does not give a flying shit. Saquon and Jalen have the same mentality. They just want to win football games. And I don't know how long that'll last where they're together. But I'm hoping we've got another 3 to 4 years of it because it is just such a beauty to watch. You guys all know how much I love Saquon. So, but back to Jalen, he just gets the disrespect, the outward disrespect with these freaking rankings, these top 5 quarterbacks, top 10 quarterback rankings. How in the blue hell, and here comes the rant. I wasn't going to do it, but here it comes. What do you guys tell me? Russ, Mike English in the room, wah, brother. Keenan, Lou, someone please tell me how in the blue hell you can possibly rank Justin Herbert ahead of Jalen Hurts without just being a hater, a straight up hater. English, I totally get it. Rank him 33. Who gives a flying fuck? I totally understand. But it's a mass, it's Olympic caliber stupidity. It is galactic shitbag rankings. Like, you cannot possibly sit here and tell me that Justin Herbert is who you'd rather have as your quarterback than Jalen Hurts. You can't. And then, of course, they fall back. Well, if they switch teams, stupid. You can't do that either because they're not switching teams. You want to do that? I can pick apart every fucking quarterback that has ever played this game. It is a dumbass argument. Well, if you put Jalen Hurts on the Chargers, that's not going to happen. It's not reality. Stop creating scenarios just to support your dumb fuck mentality. It is absolutely asinine. Hating Jalen Hurts just take a look. Someone go search what he does off the field that you never hear about because he doesn't want the spotlight on it. Saquon Barkley as well. The outward disrespect for my quarterback has gone too far. I can be critical of my quarterback too. He's thrown over the middle of the field can be a problem. We've talked about it a bunch. But if you're going to rip him for what he doesn't do well, you better praise his ass for what he does do well. But he throws outside the numbers as good or better than anyone else in the league. Does he have the arm of a Josh Allen or a freaking Patrick Mahomes? No. Or a Justin Herbert? No. He doesn't have a cannon like that. He never did. We talked about it a few minutes ago, how much better his arm has gotten, though. How much stronger he is. How much more accurate he has become. Is he as fast as a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson? No. But he's still a hell of an athlete. He's still fast. He's plenty fast enough to outrun defenders. You saw it in the goddamn game against the Rams in the playoffs. You want to throw a deep ball? Look at Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. You want to throw an accurate ball? Look at Joe Burrow. You want big, gaudy regular season stats? If you look at Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow. You want postseason success? Bring in Mahomes again. You want leadership capability? Look at a Tom Brady and guys like that. But if you want all that rolled into one package, take a look at Jalen Hurts. And this is coming from a guy who, when we drafted Hurts, I was upset because I was a Carson Wentz guy. And probably defended Carson Wentz much longer than I should have. Once he got benched in favor of Hurts, it was over for me because then we go to the next game against the Saints. Hurts looks good. I'm like, it's your job to lose now, kid. Carson, you're done. It's over. Blue Mancini, Joe Montana, my favorite quarterback ever, had a weaker arm than Hurts. Hey, Joe Montana did not have a big arm. Ridiculously accurate and never got rattled, but not a big arm. Joe Burrow. Just so you guys know, Joe Burrow does not have a big arm either. Might be stronger than Jalen, but it ain't by a whole hell of a lot. Yeah, it was. I laughed at Hurts too. In his second round, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? We were wrong. I grow tired of it. I wasn't going to spend as much time on this week, but I told you we're going to take this week in next week to get caught up on stuff. And this one's been burning my ass a little bit. This is the Super Bowl MVP, who just for the second time on the game's biggest stage outplayed the quarterback that all you fuckers want to rank number one. And you've got him ranked 9th with Justin Herbert 7th. Another slap in the face is Jaden Daniels, ranked about 5 or 6 on a lot of these lists. I'm sorry you can't do that. A few weeks back, we sat here and I picked apart Pete Prisco's top 100 for where he had Jalen in comparison to other guys. And I also ripped him for not having Devontae Smith on his list at all, even though he's got T. Higgins at number 70. Look, you want to put Higgins at 70, I won't argue with you. But if you put him at 70, Devontae's got to be right in and around the same number. Or you're just showing your whole ass again. And this shit with the quarterbacks, with this fucking Justin Herbert and Jaden Daniels. Look, they had a great rookie season. It was a lot of fun to watch. I get it. To all of you people with these rankings, and I'm talking about all you media fuckers who are out there and think that because you have a stage, that everyone should listen to your shit. Another moron is this Danny Parkins, who I can't freaking stand. The fact that you could put Jaden Daniels has 1 year under his belt. That's it. It was a great rookie campaign. Don't get me wrong. Let's flash back to late October of this past year. The game, the same day where our Birds beat the shit out of the Bengals here in Cincinnati. What happened later on that day? If you guys remember, a Washington loss that day would have had us clinching the division that day because Washington had started to fall apart and Jaden Daniels was dinged up and not looking as good. But what happened that evening? That was the Hail Mary against the Bears. And from that point on, things kind of corrected themselves for the Redskins. And I'm going to continue calling them the Redskins. No, I don't care if it hurts anyone's feelings. But head to head, we crushed them the first time around. We're kicking their ass the second time around until Lavu wants to take a cheap shot at Jaden and knock him out with a concussion. And then came the NFC Championship game where we hung 55 on them. Jalen Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns that night. Yeah. I don't want to hear this rookie quarterback ranked ahead of my Super Bowl MVP quarterback. No, I'm sorry. You lose credibility when you do stupid shit like that. Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has been in 2 playoff games. One of them, the first one, he had a massive halftime lead against Sunshine and the Jaguars. What happened? So a lot of people who defend Justin Herbert, well, the defense didn't stop the Jags the entire second half. Very true. But the Chargers didn't score points either. And what's the number one job of the quarterback? To drive his team down the field and score some good points. And what happened? Jags, epic, historic comeback, win the game. Then we go to this past year. Chargers in the playoffs again, and they get whacked. Justin Herbert, what did he throw? 5 interceptions that night? Get the fuck out of here. You've got him ranked number 7, 2 spots ahead of my Super Bowl MVP quarterback. Look, folks, here's how the top 5 should go. Okay? You got to put Patrick Mahomes number 1. I got it. I'm fine with it. I won't argue it. I don't care. 2 and 3 are Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Okay? But rank them in either order. Doesn't matter. They both come behind Mahomes because they can't beat Mahomes. Number 4, a lot of people like to put Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a monster season last year. If that team makes the playoffs, he's probably the league MVP. But why do I only hear about Joe Burrow threw this team on his back when Jamar Chase was the triple crown for wide receivers last year, receptions, yards, and touchdowns? But that was all Burrow throwing a team on his back. But when Jalen's got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, let's not forget T. Higgins is also there in Cincinnati. But when Jalen's got these 2 wide receivers, they're carrying him. That's bullshit. Joe Burrow hasn't led his team to the playoffs in 3 goddamn years. Meanwhile, in that same stretch, my quarterback has gone to a Super Bowl, outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl, came up short. Going back to a Super Bowl, outplayed Mahomes again, and belt to took home the Super Bowl MVP. So, Mahomes, Allen and Jackson, Jalen Hurts, then Joe Burrow. After that, I don't give a shit. I don't care. There are morons out there saying that Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Yes, there are, and it's not just Dallas fans. These are the people that you guys, well, maybe not exactly you guys, but you guys, meaning interwebs, will sit and listen to either on a podcast, on a radio, on a TV program, whatever. And you actually want to believe this nonsense. By the way, Russ, the Yankees suck more than just the next 3 days. The Yankees just suck. We'll get into more of that next week. I'm not going down that road now. I will give you one thing. I got like 5 text messages all at once showing this trade we made today for the Ryan McMahon, the third baseman from the Colorado Rockies. Colorado, place where the ball carries, batting averages are usually higher, a lot of power numbers. This motherfucker's batting .217 with 16 homers and leads the National League in strikeouts. I don't care what prospects we gave up for him. It was too much. We suck. So, let me get back to Jalen before I go down the Yankee rabbit hole. That'll be next week's rant. I can't with this anymore. And I get what you guys are saying, man. And I'm not, screw the rankings. And you're not wrong. They're morons. But to hear this disrespect, and I know whether Jalen gives a shit or not, I do. I do. It bothers me. Doesn't bother me when it was just, here and there, and it was kind of just, whatever, and he hadn't won the Super Bowl yet. But now he's the Super Bowl MVP. And for the second time on the game's biggest stage, has outplayed the guy who everyone considers the best quarterback of this current era. And yet here you still rank him that low behind guys who have no business being ranked ahead of him. It's insulting. It's disgusting. Honestly, all of you should be offended because I think they just sit there and do these things and they should just say, well, yeah, you can't question me. This is above your blah, 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 blah. It should be insulting to your intelligence as a football fan. Right? Did I ever play the game? No. Of course not. Have I been fortunate enough to meet people who did? Yes. And one of the biggest things I always try to do, if I get a few minutes with that person, whether it's a Trey Thomas, whether it's a Hollis Thomas, whether it's Lito Shepard, or whoever, is I ask them, this is what I think. This is my opinion on this. Tell me where I'm off base. And I've been very fortunate in the fact that the guys that I have met have been very welcoming, very kind, not full of themselves, and will actually give you a few minutes to express your opinion, as long as you don't go overboard. Express your opinion, and they'll give you the feedback. And I want that feedback. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what I'm overlooking, what I'm not seeing, what I don't know because I didn't play. Because to be honest with you, I kind of feel like I get it most of the time. I feel like I watched, watching a lot of football, studying a lot of football, trying to be as prepared as I can for, when and if I do the pregame shows or when I come talk to all of you guys here. So I love the opportunity to ask these dudes who actually played the game, here's what I think. You poke holes. Tell me where I'm off base. Help me fix that so that I have a better understanding going forward. Right? I just try to learn, And again, I've been fortunate enough for the guys that I've been fortunate enough to meet are welcoming and kind, and they don't mind giving me the few minutes. So, but when I look at a Pete Prisco or I look at this Danny Parkins or who's that other knob, I can picture his stupid face with his stupid hair and his fucking hook nose. Who the hell is that? He's the one that said Saquon wasn't going to make an impact on the Birds. Why the hell am I drawing a blank? I can't stand the guy, and I can't remember his name. Nick Wright. Piece of shit. That's probably a little harsh, but all right, I'm off my soapbox. What you guys have been going at it over here. I keep and I needed to rant. Keenan says Saquon and Jalen are the most humble. I 100% agree. Saquon has always been that way. I'm sure Jalen has too. Mike English. I was ranked 6th in my class, and look what happened to me. Russ Taylor, hating Jalen gets you more clicks and views for the social media because Eagle fans, we are suckers. We feed those haters. San Diego fans are that team. That's probably fair, Russ. That's probably a good call, man. Maybe I shouldn't get as worked up over it, but it's been constant. And when a moron like Cam Newton wants to come out and say stupid shit like that, I've had enough. Keep the Hurts hate coming. I agree with you there. I already did the cheerleaders thing. You don't have to listen. Michelle's here. Joe Montana. Russ are the same haters that down the Eagles will bring up Santa snowballs in the jail in the van. Agreed. Mike English party in the 513. Yeah, we had a good time, except for that freaking speaker that was up behind all of us. My God, brutal, terrible stadium, terrible. Yankees suck. Yep. Beat me to it, Russ. No more Yankee, my wankies. You guys are the best. Catcher stepping on home plate is catcher interference. A catcher stepping on home plate should be considered suicidal. Well, yeah. So the most common catcher interference that you see is where the catcher extends his arm out a little too far, and the batter catches his glove with the bat. You guys, actually, the Phillies had that walk-off win against the Red Sox due to that. As far as plays at the plate, they've tried to put in rules to prevent the big collisions at the plate, which this is where I do get a bit of the get off my lawn. I don't want to hear it shit. But it's a player safety. So, yeah, they're not allowed to step out there and block it when a runner's coming in. So they kind of have to, straddle the plate and reach out with the tag. I don't know. Crazy. I saw him on post-game Super Bowl, and we head-to-head with Burrow. Know some of you are going, yeah. Keenan, I'm studying baseball, Gilmore, trying to make it suck less. You got to just watch, brother. Got to watch. Got to understand that it's a very stats-driven league. It's some history of the sport would help. That sort of thing. Russ Taylor, Hoagie Fest at Wawa. Yeah, I think that might be what we do for dinner while we're watching Happy Gilmore and Happy Gilmore 2 this evening. All right, I am going to close with a little bit of a dig on a little bit of a rip on those Bengals. You've heard us, Quimby and I, talk ad nauseum about how terrible the ownership group is out here, the Brown family. So Trey Hendrickson, who over the last 3 to 4 years, as far as sack totals go, is in that same class with a TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. The Bengals are refusing to pay him and give him guaranteed money. Give him the guaranteed money that he wants. They're guaranteeing 1 year. He wants 3 years. He's earned it. And I don't know if anybody watched a bunch of Bengals stuff last year or even saw the scores. Bengals aren't really in a position to lose a lot of defensive help. And he's really their only good defensive player. He's threatening to sit out and or retire if they don't pay him. Now, look, we learned from Levy and Bell some years back that sitting out really doesn't ever help the player. And retiring would be pretty extreme. So I got to believe he's going to get on the field. This Bengals front office, though, with these cheap moves is absolutely insane. Yes, they paid Joe Burrow, they paid T. Higgins, they paid Jamar Chase. You had to pay Burrow and Chase. You guys know my stance. If I have Joe Burrow, I don't need Chase and Higgins because I have Burrow who can make someone else better. I keep Chase, I trade T. Higgins for draft picks and or defensive talent that I am devoid of. They didn't do that. They signed Higgins. Fine. 44% of your salary cap, around 3 offensive players. Good for you. You are not Howie Roseman. Good job. But now they're refusing to pay Hendrickson the contract that he wants, and he's threatening to sit or retire. Double down on that. Their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, is also having contract issues. This one, not totally just a Bengals thing. Other teams have given first-round picks kind of the same sort of stuff. But when it gets put out there that it's the Bengals again, it becomes magnified because of how cheap they already are, and it's just an overall bad look. And once again, it is a defensive player that they can't afford to live without. This kid is already back at College Station down in Texas, working out with Texas A&M again, and he is threatening to petition to be able to file the petition to be able to be allowed to go back and play college ball again this upcoming season, in which case he would re-enter the draft next year. I tell you all that to tell you this. We have Howie Roseman. And an owner who knows when to take Howie's word for where to spend the money. It is a litany of laughter over here at Bengal fans, not just for the mollywop we put on them last year, but for their continued inept ability to build an actual NFL roster. They never have depth. They can't hang on to guys. They don't pay anyone. Their practice facilities are garbage. And their food spread is rated one of the worst in the league year after year. And it's just wonderful to be a Birds fan living here sometimes. That's an hour, folks. I am going to get out of here. Got Hoagie Fest for my mom the other day. She's in assisted living now, so the food. I'll bet she was happy, brother. Tell Quimby I got the meatball. That's my go-to, the meatball parm sandwich. Love it. Okay. That's going to wrap it up, folks. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to take a quick walk and then come home, shower, and we are going to get ready for showtime. It is going to be Unhappy Gilmore and Unhappy Gilmore 2 this evening here at the Unhappy compound. Can't get more Gilmore than we're getting tonight. So we'll be back again next week. As you can tell, the Wi-Fi issues are corrected. So we'll come back and see you again next week. Folks, enjoy your weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Remember, The judge is not back in until Monday. And as always, go Birds. All right, kids, that's it. Take care. We love you.